13th. We're going to review some Puppet PRs. We don't have any Factor or hiera PRs to review, and if people have any specific PRs they want to talk about. Okay. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Yep, looks good.
All right. So the first one that we had was about zpool, and contributor added the ability to specify create options in a zpool type, basically to pass arbitrary properties through to the provider. I just commented on that that we'd prefer to have explicit parameters and properties for things that can be managed. And just waiting. I just on it.
All right. So I guess we can move that one down to waiting for updates at this point.
Sounds good. Come on. So that was this one here. Yep. Okay, next one up was about fixing the stream close problem with SSH transport. And I think this is just a bug in the transport code that we have. Basically, the way the transport works is we end up calling to the net SSH library to get a SSH session. And then from that session, we open channels and execute commands on that channel. And I think what's going on is we're actually closing the channel twice here, which is why we're getting the IO exception. Basically, on channel close, we close it, and then SSH close will close all channels associated with that session, closing the socket that's already been closed. So I think the whole channel close business is not necessary, and ideally, this code would just use the block form of net SSH to, which handles all the automatic closing.
One thing, Josh, did you mean to be sharing the notes or the PR itself? Screen sharing, that is.
Oh, I meant to be sharing the notes. Let me fix that.
Oh, you are sharing the notes. I just wasn't sure if you wanted to show the actual PR. I'm also showing the notes.
Sweet. Let me fix that. All right. This is what I was trying to show.
Yep.
That probably makes a lot more sense now.
Yep.
All right. So then the next one up was about escaping single quotes and titles, PR 4324. And this was from the Contributor Summit, and I brought that into our next sprint, which starts on tomorrow.
Okay, so I will add that to, I guess it can just stay there. We don't really have like a waiting on us section.
Cool. So then the next one up is adding timing metrics to the report, PR 4042. And this seems decent. We had a couple comments I still need to add to this. The main one was in this block here, if, oh, it's been switched. Okay, he updated it. Okay. Previously, it was doing this first, and if we return nil, then we were never calling this. So he must have updated this. Yep. Okay. Cool. I will take a look at that afterwards.
Cool. I'll add an action for you.
Sweet. So the next one up is use CF property list to read launch DP lists, PR 4174. And this needs some work. We were looking at this yesterday, and a couple of things. One is it's targeting 3x, so we need to take into account all the various ways that Puppet gets packaged to make sure that our dependency is expressed correctly. For example, when running Puppet from source, or when packaged as a DMG in 3x, or in all-in-one agent. Also, there were some changes to some of the commits that seemed to conflict, and so between the work that Sam did and then the commits that Gary added on top. So we'll need to go through that and clean that up. Nothing in particular for us to talk about here, but just the main thing is we're trying to use the binary p-lists and avoid round-tripping through XML to parse all that data, which will result in some faster performance. And that's it for the other tickets. Everything else...
Actually added one more if you...
Okay.
So I don't know if this really warrants a discussion, but pup, let's see, which one was it? 2575 got updated about 3 minutes ago with feedback from all the comments.
Cool.
So I reviewed this one, and everything was pretty sane, except for the case where you added you duplicated groups in the array of groups, in which case Puppet would keep reporting that it was trying to change the groups even though it wasn't. So I suggested he added unique to this should list, which would essentially make us ignore duplicates, if that seems sane to everybody. So I think he did that. I could commit to taking another pass at this and making sure everything is cool and the tests work and all that.
Yeah, adding unique sounds good. It's unfortunate that the type doesn't. You know how the members in the group type, there's a members property that we're doing a comparison of, and ideally you could express that members type was a unique list of things, so we don't replicate this logic across different providers. But,
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he added the tests that I suggested. I found an interesting possible regression with groups in OS 10 at least. Yeah, so he's saying that it's not, you can remove users from groups in Puppet 3.8.2, just as an aside, that I found based on this PR, but we can't do it anymore in 4.2. So that's interesting.
Also in these tests, it would be good to check for the case when either the current or the desired state is absent.
Yeah.
Unless they always come through as empty array, but I think empty and absent are different. Yeah. All right. I'll add a comment on the test about that.
Yeah, makes sense.
Was there anything else that people wanted to review?
Yeah, I tossed in a PR just a few minutes ago before the meeting started, just for a quick look. Not asking for it to be merged at all yet, because I still need to create a test for it.
Cool. Hey, Adam. Sorry, I didn't even see that you were there. Thanks for joining.
You're welcome. It's feature auto-relation defined types. It should be 4337. I didn't create a feature request for it or anything.
Okay.
It's to allow defined types to be auto-relationed inside of custom types for the rare times that will ever happen.
Could you give a little more background on that? I'm not sure I'm familiar with auto with
Well,
what
it's
you're
auto
talking about.
require and auto before and all that stuff that you can do inside a custom type basically states that you'll put auto require colon file, and what that'll do is it'll say inside the code it'll say, well, do I have even a type called file? And it'll say, okay, yes, I do. Then I'll go through the block, the AND block, and whatever it returns will be an array of all those whatever types it's going to hand back, and that'll do the auto relations just like you get in Puppet DSL, except it's generally a soft relation. It'll require and order it, but it won't fail if it can't find it. So it's considered a soft requires. Now in this case, a defined type is always of type component. And so when it does the lookup, it'll never find that type because the type it sees is, let's say, like IP set bracket, the name of the your defined type, and then close bracket. And that's never an actual custom type, so it automatically would fail with the next unless. And so what this does is it allows you to look for a component, and I add that reference.type into component.rb so that you can actually find out that you're calling that your pseudo or type would be IP set, even though it's a defined type. That gives it an actual type name, and that means it'll actually go into that block. So if you did an auto require colon IP set, normally that would never work because there's no IP set type. But if you have a defined type called IP set, all of a sudden it'll find that and say, okay, I'll let you go into the block and start your relation checking and let you return something. So it supports defined types instead of people having to convert their defined type to a type if they want to be able to do auto relation.
Right.
Like in Firewall D or even Firewall, if that ever got implemented, IP set is an extension. You would prefer your IP sets to be soft required prior to your firewall rules using the IP sets. And so right now IP set is a separate module and it uses a defined type. And so instead of me having to look for even a type, defined type by full name, like IP set bracket and then whatever name they're going to give to it, this allows us to do what we normally do with custom types and just find that the type exists.
Yeah. I wonder about what resources are going to be in the RHEL catalog.
It's going to be your full catalog when built, I believe, when your catalog's finished building. Now, it gets called multiple times. It'll get called 20 times or something before it even does the load facts. And then after the load facts happen, then yes, it's now there. So every single type has their auto required checked multiple times. So if you'd written like a puts line in there or like some debug line, you'd see it being called multiple times, but then only finally seeing that it needs to do a check after the facts, after the catalog's actually built.
Yeah.
So one thing is, I know we've been bitten before with making assumptions about double colons and trying to infer types based on that. God damn it.
Yeah. Well, a custom type never have colons, or as far as I know. But your defined types can have colons, and so the point of that is to say, if it has colons, then we'll capitalize everything after the colons, and if it doesn't have a colon, it's just a root word. Let's capitalize the first one.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be good to get Henrik's thoughts on this. He's kind of deep in the bowels of this code.
Is that really what it's doing? Huh.
I've done a workaround myself in my own code without using this previously, and then Hunter had had said it'd be neat to see this kind of functionality in core, so I wrote that up.
So are defined types currently represented in the catalog as defined types, or is it the thing that they reference? You know,
They are components types inside the catalog.
It seems like
the framework class for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I modified it to return what the root type of the component will be.
are titles case sensitive? Or class titles, I guess, is what we're looking at. That I forget.
I think they are.
Okay.
Because you can do, like capital file, right? And then you define resource defaults for that class.
Right. But I'm thinking about a name of a component. I wonder if you could just do a case-insensitive compare here, because splitting on double colons seems finicky.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't know.
And if you split, to me it looks like it's just going to capitalize everything.
Well, it splits because the capitalized thing will capitalize everything. I believe it's in the array there.
Yeah.
And then we join it back together. Because technically if you ran a file : or any kind of resource with : inside a Puppet DSL, you capitalize everything after a colon, and that's how I handled it there, because that's how I expect to see it in the catalog.
Yeah, but this is just going to capitalize every element, or every character, because it's going to split, producing an array, and then it's going to map. So for every entry in the array, it'll capitalize it. Or is the ampersand something that I'm not familiar with?
That just says, take whatever's in the map, which every item, and capitalize it. Which
it's not too upping it; it's just capitalizing the first letters.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Got
and that's how DSL would handle it, is to say file : resource. So your F would be capitalized and your R would be capitalized.
Got it.
We also might want to ping Henrik on there's probably a utility function on there somewhere that does the same thing, because this is a common thing that happens through parsing and other steps in the compilation process.
Quite possible.
Yeah, that would make sense.
So no matter what, it retains the previous function of the next unless, because it just extends it.
Yeah, and we definitely want an RSpec test for this.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out how to create a defined type inside of RSpec.
We will also need a ticket sort of outlining what the problem is and what the fix is, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, the things you just said would be useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
explaining the use case is usually our primary thing from a ticket, to understand what the feature is trying to solve.
Okay.
I guess.
So I'll add a note about asking Henrik about that part.
Yeah. The commit message is actually a pretty good start. It just didn't show up in the summary.
Also, if you could rebase to get rid of the merge commit that's in there as well, that'd be great.
Sure.
Yeah, just a minor cleanup on the commits.
Told me mine was out of date. I wasn't sure 100% what that did. But yeah, I can pop that out of there.
Yeah, usually I just create a feature branch, rebase entirely off of master, and then it should clean up that merge commit for you.
Okay. I'll see what I can do.
Cool. Does anyone have any other things they wanted to talk about?
Yeah, this is Rob. I don't have a PR for it, but I put links to the Jira ticket and a commit hash at the contributor summit. We looked at automatic deep merges or automatic parameter lookup with deep merge. I have a prototype for it, but before we submit a PR, I want to get some consensus to see if this is the road we want to go down.
Was this on hiera?
Yes. Although it's open
There's no
on
PR
Hiera,
yet.
this is actually going to be in Puppet.
It's on Felix's repo.
Okay.
It's on a link from the Hangout. It's always so trippy when you see Hangouts inside of Hangouts like that.
Yes. Cool.
So what was Henrik's assessment of these changes, since you worked with him on this?
He seemed to think it was a pretty good idea. We had looked at maybe doing some sort of type definition, but kind of agreed that doing it in Hiera keeps that code data separate, so we don't have a module determining how the Hiera lookups happen. So it stays entirely within the Hiera data itself. And the way it would work is if you look on line 570 there, we didn't create the Puppet option for it, but we think a Puppet option called Hiera Advanced Parameter Bindings should be set to true. And then it would look for lookup options with the name, : and then the name of the key as it normally would be present. And if that has a merge value of deep, then it would do deep, but comes out of the types, there's the type lookup function, there's a number of other values for merge. It would just use one of the valid merge strategies. And then it would pass that down into the lookups that it would perform. And sorry, I'm getting over some creeping crud from all the travel.
Yeah. It seems reasonable as much as I know about Hiera, which is not very much. I think Henrik is kind of the main person. And since he worked with you on this, it seems like we should move forward with it. Though
Okay.
we'd need some, I mean, we'd need tests, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I got sick from PuppetConf, so I just want to get this out here for discussion today. But yeah, I need tests, documentation.
Some performance metrics might also be nice. I mean, we're doing a bunch more lookups now for this option. I don't know. I worry about performance always.
Okay.
I mean, I assume in the future we'd want to extend the options that we're specifying in Hiera itself for these individual keys that we're going to be looking up. So I'm just concerned we're going from like 3 lookups to 4 right now, but many more in the future potentially.
Yeah, we certainly could. We talked about potentially giving the option to do lookup options at the class level as opposed to the parameter level, but definitely did not put that in this first version here.
Okay. I mean, I echo Josh's sentiment that if Henrik is relatively happy with it, then I certainly am.
Okay.
Looks like there's also been some discussion on the ticket. J.C. Bollinger 4 hours ago and Henrik 3 hours ago. So.
Okay. I'll go ahead and get started on that. Hopefully have something by next week.
Cool.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob.
Sure.
All right. Does anybody have anything else? No. All right. So I guess that's a wrap. There weren't any things open on Factor or hiera outside of this, so I think we're good. Thanks everybody for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
See ya.
Bye.